the Seattle Seahawks had an amazing game against Detroit, but fell just short for their first loss of the season. Their reward, though, for playing a great game is they will be able to host Daniel Jones, the New York Giants, after they had a tough Thursday Night Football loss in Week 4. Ryan and I, we're going to break down the Giants-Seahawks Week 5 matchup and talk about the matchup within the game that you need to watch and give our predictions at the very end of the video. But before we get into that, Ryan and I, we do have a goal of trying to get to 100 new subscribers during these Week 5 prediction video series. We've been able to meet that goal the past couple of weeks thanks to all of our new members to the channel. So thank you. And if this is your first time here, if you have not already, go ahead and subscribe to the Tracy Take. Leave a like and a comment. Let us know who you think is going to win this game and why. So we are recording this prediction video right after the Seahawks-Detroit Monday Night Football game. What an amazing game. What an amazing performance by both teams. It's a couple of errors by the Seahawks, just the fumble in the first half. It was honestly really kind of just the main difference between these two teams. And so New York, on the other hand, though, I think they looked okay, but definitely not spectacular. Which is kind of what we'd expect. And one of the big things, too, we're going to have to watch going into this week is Malik Nabers looked like he got a pretty serious concussion at the end of the game. Have to monitor his status. Luckily, he has an extra half week to hopefully kind of rehabilitate. So his status definitely will need to be monitored going into this game. But before we get into the game, it's kind of the end of the regular season, preseason, as Ryan and I like to call it, as kind of a lot of teams use the month of September to still keep shaking the rust off. And so, Ryan, kind of with that being said, what's your kind of overall thoughts on the Giants and on the Seahawks up to this point in the season?
Yeah, I'll start with the Giants. I still feel like they're kind of trying to figure things out on offense. Malik Nabers has been a very welcome addition, and I think Daniel Jones has shown improvement because of that addition. This offensive line has been okay. I thought Andrew Thomas looked decent against the Cowboys pass rushers before they went out. But, yeah, like this offensive line has improved. They're running the ball decently well with Devin Singletary. And yeah, like this offense looks improved. This defense, I think, is the main thing carrying this team. They were able to stop Washington a lot in the red zone. And now that we have the past 2 weeks to kind of look, was a very impressive feat considering the last two teams have really not been able to stop this offense or stop that offense as a whole. So this defense is looking good through the first 4 weeks. I would say the Giants are better than expected, especially after that rough Week 1 loss to the Minnesota Vikings. And then the Seahawks also, I think, are looking better than I expected. A couple close games to start the year. They looked pretty good against Miami last week, obviously without Tua. And then a tough road loss here on Monday Night Football against the Lions. But this is still a good team. Explosive offensive weapons. Kenneth Walker came back for this game, so that's nice to see. Get him more involved in the running game, and he's actually a pretty good catcher out of the backfield, as most Seahawks fans probably know. And this defense is I think solid. I think gave up a little too much, maybe in the run game today. They were giving David Montgomery, and maybe also I may also be conflicting that with David Montgomery's big pass play that he had as well. So maybe I'm conflicting the two there. But all in all, I think that this is just a good Seahawks team, and they're outperforming a little bit with what I thought they'd be doing at this point too.
Seahawks definitely are taking steps in the right direction, especially then too with a weaker NFC West, and then the 49ers not playing and dealing with some injuries and not playing up to like the Super Bowl caliber team. I think a lot of teams expect. I think there's a real possibility that they can win this division. They got a big Week 6 Thursday Night Football matchup coming up, and that's going to be fun to preview. But Seahawks looked really good tonight. I wish they would have been at full capacity on defense. I think that would have been a big change as well. I had the inactive report up for them here just a second ago. I'll look it up here in a second, but I think that was another minor factor as well. And I say minor just because it was such a close game between both teams that I think that just that little bit of inefficiency, then even losing Julian Love in the middle of the game, I think just hurt this defense overall, and they gave up some explosive plays. So moving on to the Giants-Seahawks game, though. But before we get into that, if you do want to put a couple bucks down on this game, check the link down below. BetUS has a bunch of great promotions going on right now for first-time players, so you can take a look at this game or also all the other Week 5 games as well. And heading into this game, not sure exactly what the odds will be, but I will say being at home in Seattle and the way that this team is looking, they will most definitely be the favorite, especially then too if Malik Nabers is not going to play as well. Because I think to me that's going to be the interesting matchup overall is can this defense contain Geno Smith in the Seattle offense. Geno Smith played an amazing game tonight, 38 for 56, 395 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. The pick's not even – it was a late game, like last minute he trying to force something in there. So it's not – he played a phenomenal game as well. They actually ran the ball, I think, decently well in the second half. They really kind of wore down this Lions defense. And maybe the Lions were playing a little bit of prevent defense, just trying to keep everything in front of them. But – in general, though, Smith looked really good. The entire offense looked really good. DK Metcalf and Jackson Smith and Jigba is a great combo. Not to even mention that like you got Tyler Lockett there. So they're definitely if they have offensive performances like that, and if they're able to play against teams with a weaker run defense as well and be more balanced, I think this team could. It definitely impressed me a lot tonight. I will say shout out to all the Seahawks Seahawks fans who comment on our videos. I definitely see what you mean more now with how atrocious this offensive line was. I felt like Geno Smith was running like a chicken with his head cut off for a majority of the time. And that's going to be something that they're going to need to keep on improving. I know Stone Forsythe was playing, and I think also too, let me quickly just look up the Seahawks inactives here just so I can get them exactly right.
Yeah, well, that whole right side of their offensive line has been decimated with injuries all year. Like George Fant went out in week 1 and hasn't. I believe he was placed on IR and hasn't played since. And so like they've just really struggled, especially in pass protection, getting any consistent.
Yeah. So guard Sayatau, Luamau was out, and then also offensive tackle Michael Jarrell was out as well. But also on the defensive side of the ball, as I mentioned, Byron Murphy was out, Jerome Baker was out, Boyd Mafe was out, Leonard Williams was out, and then Uchenna Nwosu, and I apologize if I mispronounced that, was out. So I just think they're a little bit hurt on the defensive side of the ball, and so I have to monitor their status as well going into this game. But the biggest thing to me, though, is if this offense keeps kind of clicking on all cylinders, Kenneth Walker's coming back and healthy, and that's a great 1-2 combo with the two of them. How is this Giants defense going to slow down this just absolute kind of just like star-studded Seahawks skill position room? And so because if they're not able to do that, then it's going to be a very long day for New York, because if they are without Malik Nabers, they do not want to win this game in a shootout at all. And so their one saving grace is going to be trying to run the ball against this Seahawks defense, especially too if they're still injured. As they gave up a 116 rushing yards tonight, and then overall the Seahawks defense rushing rank is 14th overall in rushing yards allowed, so slightly above average. Yeah, so I would still say that's average.
And they gave up a little over 4 yards a carry tonight. The Lions didn't really run the ball that much. It just felt like when they were consistently getting that yardage.
And the big difference too, if we go kind of look at the game, it's everybody's going to talk about how Jared Goff had literally a perfect game, 18 for 18, and then also he even caught a receiving touchdown as well, along with throwing one. But it was a David Montgomery explosive play that you talked about as well. It was a DK Metcalf fumble that the Lions have returned to their 14. Jameson Williams, 70-yard touchdown. It was just those explosive plays, I think, that were kind of the big – because both sides were able to move the ball and score touchdown, take time off the clock. But it just felt like there's Lions made 1 or 2 more extra plays, and they're not going to have to worry about that against the New York Giants. And so I think kind of moving to my predictions here, I think that even with Malik Nabers, I think the Seahawks would win this game. Seahawks defense, I hope, gets a little bit healthier as well. But if the Giants are without Malik Nabers, I think they're going to have a tough time stopping the Seahawks offense. This offensive line for the Seahawks are going to have to play a lot better, yes, because you're going to be going up against Byron Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau, some guys that can really get after you. But they have the firepower. The DK Metcalf is an absolute stud. I was even thinking there too. I was looking up his stats, like how great of a career he's had. And I think he's only missed, I could be wrong if I was reading the stats right, but he's only missed one game in his entire career. He's had multiple 1,000-yard seasons during Seattle. And so he's just had a phenomenal career. He's absolute stud of a receiver. I don't know how any of these guys can really kind of guard him just with how big he is. I don't know how New York is going to do it, especially too. CeeDee Lamb had his way against Deonte Banks. So I think CeeDee Lamb, Deonte Banks, I think that's a heavyweight versus featherweight, to be completely honest. On the flip side, don't know how Daniel Jones and this offense are going to be able to throw the ball. Just in general, it's I think the Seahawks offense, especially too depleted, can give up some passing yards, but not going to be to this Giants offense.
Yeah, the one matchup I want to see, and I'm going with Seattle also. The one matchup I do want to see, how do Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns match up against this offensive line for the Seahawks? Because I think with Dexter Lawrence in the middle, it's going to be hard for Seattle to come in here and want to run the ball and kind of like make this a more of a grinded out game. I think it is in their best interest to make this game into a shootout, just because I don't think the Giants have the horses to really keep up. But in doing so, you're going to give Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau more one-on-one matchups with your tackles. And that could result in some turnovers. That could result in some errant throws from Geno Smith. And we saw tonight, like, the Lions were in the backfield a ton. So that'll be interesting to see, like, how the Seahawks navigate those two edge rushers. But outside of that, I think the Seahawks are going to be a much better team and win this overall matchup.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. No, it should be a W for Seattle.
Yeah. So let's go ahead. We'll wrap it up here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on who you think is going to come out ahead. Will it be the New York Giants? Will it be the Seattle Seahawks? While you're down there, go ahead, like and subscribe. It is the best way to help out the channel. Other than that, we'll see you guys next time.